Good day everyone, and welcome to Kelly's Cooking on the Cheap. As if you had seen my channel, I had put a post yesterday saying I was going to make a video regarding the $5 rotisserie chicken from Sam's. Well, I've come up with three recipes that I'm going to do with the chicken, and I wanted to show you what I did this morning to get part of the chicken ready. I already deboned it, and I'll show you here in a minute, but I threw the bones, the carcass of the chicken, in the crock pot and filled it up pretty much all the way, covered most of it with water, and here's the outcome. I just drained it, and there's the broth. I'm getting ready to make the, and this is going to, but first I am going to divvy up the chicken, so let me go over here. And I'll show you all the chicken that I deboned from the bird. This is all that I did. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make up the chicken salad. So I am going to take about a third of the chicken, and I did leave the skin on. And first, I'm going to cut it in bite-sized pieces. Here's my bowl. And you can cut it how you like it, whether you like chunks, small bites, however. And this might, hopefully, will get us a couple days of lunches for 2 people at least. I need to get a little sharper knife. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna get one more piece out. That might be only one day. We'll play it by ear. And a lot with this, when I was coming up with the recipes for this, my goal was, I bought the $5 chicken, and I'm going to make what I can with what I have on hand. So some might make fun of me, some may not, but since I don't have pickle relish, but I do have pickles, I'm going to cut up some regular pickles. So let me grab a couple pickles. All right, there's my pickles, and let me dice them up. Because you never know, what I might show you is all you have on hand. So I just wanted to give some ideas. I'm not usually a big pickle fan or pickle relish, but sometimes it is nice to have in it for a little extra crunch. All right, there's the pickle. And all I have that's not frozen in onion is a little bit of red onion. A little bit of red onion. I usually like a lot of onion, so I'll probably go a little overboard. There we go. And next, I am going to add mayo. I grew up with Miracle Whip, but I kind of switched to mayo. So I'm just going to add a couple spoonfuls and go from there and see if I need to add any more. Oh, and before I forget, even though there is seasoning on there from it being cooked as a rotisserie chicken, I am going to add this Kinder's the Blend, which has salt, pepper, and garlic in it. Has a little extra seasoning. I use this a lot for hamburgers, meat, cooking. Again, do how you like. Let me taste this and see how it is. Actually, it's not bad. Pretty good with the crunch of the pickle and the seasoning in it. So this is good to go. I'm going to set it to the side and throw it in the fridge after a while. That's one down. The next thing I am going to do is I am going to go ahead and finish this soup off a little by adding the carrots. And not to mean to go back to cooking up the chicken broth earlier, I cooked it on high in the crock pot with all the bones on high for about 4 hours. Just drained it and I put it back in for on low. So let me cook up the carrots. Again, this leftover carrots is from another recipe I did last week. Let's see. And normally I put celery in chicken noodles. Well, I don't have any, and if you heard that noise, that was my boy making a reference to the celery. But I do have celery seed that I will put a little bit in as well. Again, use what you have on hand, and you can always adjust to your taste as well. My son also, even though he helps me film mine at times, he also is doing his own YouTube channel. And what was it? JP Sports Corner. So if you want to check him out at some point, he would love for you to do that. One went overboard. Maybe I should learn and use a bigger cutting board. Maybe I wouldn't have that problem. Alright, let me do a few more. I might as well do the rest. That way I don't have anything go to waste. Again, another one overboard. I guess I didn't want to get eaten later. Granted, if it's anywhere like where you're at here, it is deathly hot, and I'm sometimes thinking, why am I making a soup if it's deathly hot? But it's light enough to where it's not going to be overly heavy. And what I might do this afternoon while this is finishing cooking with the carrots and other seasoning I might add, I might make a little loaf of bread and cook it in the crock pot. So if I do, I'll show it to you later when we dish up the soup. And I have made that one before, and it's real easy. And it's actually pretty good. It reminds me of a bread my mom used to make growing up called coffee can bread. And if you remember the coffee cans that were metal, she would cook it in the metal cans, not the plastic today. And that's how it was called, coffee can bread. Oops. I'll have to clean up here in a little bit. All right, so what I'm going to do is put this in the soup. But before I put this in the soup, I am going to pull out some of the broth that I had cooked up, and I'm going to use it for my third dish here. So if you want to take a look at how the broth looks, actually it looks pretty good. So I'm just going to do is a couple scoopfuls, put it in my 9x13 dish. I might do 3 scoops for flavor for when I make. All right, so there's the third. Let me get it set over here. Now I'm going to add this in. And like I said a minute ago, I'm adding celery seed. I'm going to start out with a teaspoon of it. And let me grab some thyme. Again, I am not going to overly season since I did cook the bones from the rotisserie in there, so it should have some seasonings from that as well. So I'm going to add a teaspoon as that, and let me go back and get another third of the chicken to add as well. All right. I think I'll do that here. So it would have been better if I shredded the chicken while it was still warm, but I just threw the rotisserie in the fridge and deboned it a little bit ago while I was fixing lunch. All right, so let me add some chicken. All right, and I have this on low, and I'm going to let this cook, and then about a half an hour before we eat, I'm going to add the noodles. All right, so that's the second dish. And now the third dish. I am going to make tweak the, sorry, I lost my mind. I'm going to tweak a version of chicken and rice. So what I did here was I pulled some of the chicken broth, and I am going to add a cream soup, and it was the only one that I had on hand right now, and it's the cream of mushroom with roasted garlic. I figured this would be good to have a little mushroom in it and also have a roasted garlic flavor. Now, a lot of people use the cream of chicken, but if you're a cheapskate like me and like to find the good deals, then if you can catch this on sale every once in a while, and I usually try and stock up. So I'm going to get a smaller spoon. So I'm just going to do it as a one dish. And also, let me go get the oven started. I'm going to probably put the oven at 375 while I finish cooking this, or getting this ready. All right, so let me stir this up. As I splash it all over. And another twist to this is I am going to add a can of rotel to give it a little extra seasoning and spice. This way, if you don't have a lot, this takes care of it. So let me stir it in. Now I'm going to add the rest of the chicken. Let me shred it up a little. I'm just rough chopping this. Let me add that in. All right. And then I am going to add, dry rinse my hands off, I'm going to add 2 cups of uncooked long grain rice. Again, this is always good to have on hand as a backup for any meal you need to make. So let me add 2 cups. And I think I did say that this is long grain rice, the basmati. I can never say that. I might add a little bit more liquid to this here in a moment. Let me get this all stirred up. And if you've watched any of my other videos, I did not add any salt. And I usually don't cook with a lot of salt because a lot of the seasonings or mixes I use has plenty of salt in it. I just might add a little bit of the other additional seasonings as needed. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of heavy cream just to make up for not having enough cream of soup. I'm just going to do maybe half a cup. And I'm going to grab a little bit of water just to rinse out the cream. Maybe 1/4 of a cup. That way it adds extra richness. So, and it'll help for the rice. Now what I'm going to do, normally I would add cheese in here as well, but I have one who's just not a cheese fan. So what I am going to do is I shredded some cheese. Here's some, but I did shred more. And I like anymore to buy the block of cheese and shred it myself because the shredded cheese I think has a lot of added preservatives to it. this way. So I'm going to do on half. All right, well, let me grab a little bit more cheese. This way too, if you ever just want cube cheese or shredded cheese, you have your choice. You can cut it accordingly. All right, so there it is. And now I'm going to, even though the oven is not heated up yet, I'm just going to go ahead and put it in and cook and put it in for about half an hour and check it after that. So we'll be back. Well, the chicken and rice just came out of the oven a few minutes ago. It did take the 30 minutes, and I let it cool for a few minutes so Robert, my hubby, can come and taste test this for us. I kind of taste tested it already, and I thought it was pretty good. Here you go.
We're good.
So I think it did work, having the cream of mushroom with the roasted garlic in it, and to add the extra flavor. So we'll come back a little later and finish out our 3 meals with the chicken noodle soup. All right, it's to the point to add the noodles to the chicken noodle soup, and I don't have much noodles left. I'm going to just use these up first, and if I need to the second night to add more, I'll use others that I have, but I'm just going to throw it in. And then just give it a stir up. I would say probably half an hour, 45 minutes, they should be done. And then also here's how it is looking, if I can talk today. Noodles are cooking. And I also wanted to show you something else too. Told you I'd probably make some bread to go with the soup tonight. It's in the crock pot, just got a little bit more time to cook. Here it is. You can see through the lid. Once it gets done, then I'll probably, last time I didn't put it under the broiler like it said. This time I might, but I'll show you the final product here in a little bit. Hello, and let's finish up the soup. It is ready, and here it is. It's looking good. I think there's enough noodles in there. Here's how it looks dished up, and here is the bread. Here, let me turn it around a little. Here's the bread. It's very good. I will try and put the recipe in the description. And I will say that on this one, I did substitute 1/3 of the cup of the flour with almond flour, and I've also used, it calls for sugar, but I've used stevia. So it is where you could adjust it to your tastes as well. But good evening, and I hope you've enjoyed. With this, again, I've made, with 1 rotisserie chicken, I've made chicken noodle soup, chicken and rice, and chicken salad. And I hope you enjoy. If you like, please like and subscribe. Thank you.